Here we are. I think I got everybody in who was hanging out there. I think. Somebody will let me know later. You didn't let me in. Here we go. So this is what I wanted to do today. I wanted to go through these things. And, first is the discussion of that definition. And I know the mentors, we did this already. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll discuss mentors and mentees. We want to share that information with each other, right? And then we'll talk about skills on both sides. And then how does that collaboration work? And that's a tricky word, collaboration. It's, it sounds easy. Yeah, we're just going to collaborate, but it's not. So, and then we're going to get a chance to practice those roles. Okay. It's going to be a little more difficult to do now because we don't have enough people really to use the breakout rooms properly, but we'll do this. Oh, there's Suda. All right. So we'll move ourselves along here. Here we go. So when this is over, you'll be able to download it. It's going to be on our website. It'll be under GLT. Okay, and you can just go to GLT and then download it. And then if you want to use the chat today, you can just beside the share screen button. And now I've got it covered up again, so I'll move that over there. Just beside the share screen, there's the chat button there. So if you want to ask a question, you can put it into chat. And I'll catch up to it after I'm finished with the slides, okay? I won't be able to see it while we're doing the slides. Okay, so the first basic thing was who is Lions, but there's a lot of outdated things on this slide right here. And yeah, you're gonna see this still, the Global Action Team, but now there's a new part to it. Okay, you're gonna see this when you're talking about the foundation. We're gonna see this as our logo. I have to remember, we had a big discussion from Multiple District Day about our logo. A lot of people were not using it. So they're using the old ones because it's nice and colorful. It has the red tongue and it has a little bump up here. It's not smooth anymore. It's a little scrolly. Anyway, we have the new logo. And so to keep with the branding, and that's why I mentioned this right now, to keep with the branding, what we want to do is we want to use that new logo on everything we produce. If somebody said, well, how new is that logo? Well, that logo came out in 2008. So it's not all new. It's been around for quite some time. And then there's Lions Clubs International down here. Okay, so yeah, you're going to see these, but you're also going to see this one. It'll come to me in a second here. Okay, that's a little elevator speech. This is what you're going to see more often now. It's just straight Lions International. And that gives us a chance to talk about the foundation and the administration side with the Lions clubs themselves. So we're going to see that more often now than we see, either of the other two, because that gives us a broader range to talk about. And so what Lions have done now, or LCI has done now, is they put together a new mission statement. Now it's, when I say new, it's not really new. What's new about it is they took the two mission statements, the one from LCI and the one from LCI, and they squashed them together. So this is what the new mission statement looks like right now. So it's way too long to memorize. Nobody's going to memorize this thing. So basically, you just have to know that this is what our mission statement is, and somebody wants to know what it is, piece of paper. But you're not even going to have to know that now for 2 years, because they're not going to work that in full speed until 2025. So it's something that they're going to work in nice and slowly. We learned our lessons, we say, from doing some other things too quickly. And so they'll work this in nice and slowly. So you don't have to change things that have our mission statement on them now. You can wait for a while to do that. Okay, and we talked about this before. So mentees, when you're out doing your role next year, you're going to have to know this stuff too. So what do Lions need to know about their club? Well, they need to know the history of the club. And so if you're visiting, you need to know a little bit about the history of the club you're visiting. You need to know the organizational structure of most Lions clubs and, of course, of your district. You need to know what traditions Lions have, how elections are supposed to be run. And I say supposed to because nobody does them the same way. And then what awards are out there, because, if you're going to acknowledge people, and that's a big thing to do, if you're going to acknowledge people, then you need to know what the awards are out there you can acknowledge people with. So you need to know what those are. And then we need to know the difference between activities and administration. You need to know that all clubs should have at least two accounts. One is activities, one is administration. And activities money goes all back to the community that it came from. And the administration money is what runs your club. And that's what you get from dues. Or if you have some kind of Lions event, maybe you host a zone meeting or a cabinet meeting. If you do that, then you can take that money, put it in your administration fund to run your club. But at Lions International, the clubs are run by dues. That's how they're run. Okay. And we need to know about meetings. And we find clubs are really taking a look at My Club, My Way, and they're doing their meetings in different structures than the traditional 2 meetings a month and 1 meeting for a board of directors. We do things a little bit differently now. Not all clubs follow that tradition, but some do. So you need to know the club you're visiting. You need to know how they run theirs because you want to pay a visit at some point. That's something else we have to talk about. And we need to know about dues. Somebody will say, well, what are the dues? You know, you need to know those dollars amounts. And that's why we put them in the directory. So when you have it in the directory, you can just turn to it. So, you know, when you get your directory, you know, carry that thing with you so that it's there and you know a little bit more about what it is you're going to talk about. Okay, so on the other side of this thing, what do Lions need to know beyond their club? So now you got your club stuff going on. What do you need to know beyond that? Well, at the district level. So I'm going to ask you now, maybe you can give me some input and just shout it out. At the district level, what do clubs or Lions need to know about the district?
Who their governor is.
Need to know who the governor is. Would they need to know who the first and second vice are?
Exactly what their role is.
Yeah. What's the job of the governor? What's the job of the first and second vice? Anything else you need to know at district level?
They need to know who their zone chair is.
Yeah, they need to know the zone chair for their zone. Now, if you're the zone chair and visiting, it's going to be quite obvious, but you know, they might not know if they're in another format. So you're going to have to make yourself known if you're a zone chair. How about, do they need to know who the region chair is?
Wouldn't
They
hurt.
do.
Yeah, no.
Zone chair and region chair both, yes.
Yeah, I would think so. And if we have those visits going on, we're going to have to talk about how that's structured. And I'll put that in at the end because there's some changes with some new stuff that's coming out. Those people who are at MDA, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so what do they have to know about the multiple district level? Do Lions and the regular clubs, do they need to know anything about multiple district level?
I think they probably need to know what their multiple district dues are for.
Yeah, because they're going to pay dues to the multiple district level. They want to know what the heck the multiple district level does, right?
Yep.
So what kinds of things does the multiple district do that would help out a Lion?
Administration.
Yep, sure does.
It's total administration.
Yeah, there's not supposed to be any activities. From time to time, we break that rule, but there's supposed to be just administration, basically, is to help the districts out, right? Anything else the multiple district does?
Training.
I'm sorry?
Training.
Yeah, they do some training, and the new slant now for other districts. I mean, our multiple districts been doing it for a couple of years, but now the new slant is to actually talk about training for second vice district governors and first vice district governors becoming district governors. So we've been doing it for quite some time. And in the last 10 years, they've dropped down some of that training for first vice district governors or district governors elect. And then now they've dropped down the training for second vice district governors to the multiple districts, even though some of us have been doing it anyway. Some multiple districts have been doing it. We have. Okay, so what the ordinary line? Sorry, did I cut somebody off or were they just coughing?
No, I was trying to jump in.
Okay, go ahead.
They should know that there's 10 districts in the multiple district A, and we primarily cover La Prairie.
Yeah, we primarily cover Ontario. We don't cover past Thunder Bay. So west of that is part of 5M. And then there's 6 clubs now, I think, in Quebec. There were 8, but I think there's only 6 now that are in Quebec that are part of multiple district A. And it's because they're English speaking and they're just slightly over the border. Even though we have some clubs here in multiple district A that would prefer to be French speaking, we speak in English most of the time. Okay, so what else do we have to know at the international level?
Be the president.
Yeah, we should know who our international president is because from time to time, not often enough, I don't think, they come up in the news and you'll hear a little bit about them in the news. So it would be interesting, you know, just to know who that person is so that you can relate to the name. This year, it's maybe more important to us Canadians. Yeah, this year it's maybe more. I don't know if I'm cutting somebody off or I'm not. I just hear little squeaks going on back there. Anyway,
Sorry.
Somebody's just joining.
That's me. I fell asleep, so I'm late.
hi, Paul. We're partway in.
Hello.
We're partway in.
Uh-huh.
Again, I think it's important to know what the international dues go for.
Yeah, and again, that breakdown, that circle diagram, circle graph is in the our directory, so you can show that to people too. And you know, for some different organizations, they run things differently. But Lions International, the club side of this thing, is run totally by dues. There's no other income for that for Lions Clubs International except dues. Now they do have some money in reserve because they didn't spend all the dues that were paid to them for some years. So they've made some investments. But basically, that's how we run. That's how we run. Okay, we run on dues. So they need to know that. What else do they need to know about the international level?
I think they need to know a little bit about what international really does.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does international produce for them? And so we need to show them some materials from time to time. So, you know, just about everything your club has as paraphernalia is produced by Lions Clubs International. And so that's where you go to buy that stuff, right?
I always like to let the clubs know about UN Day and about the Rose Bowl parade so that they can see that, you know, it's easy for them to see.
Yeah. So the Rose Bowl parade and the Orange Bowl, we actually have a sponsorship at the Orange Bowl too. So if they're watching those, you know, football games or watching the parade for the Rose Bowl, if you watch the parade, we have a float in that every year. And you can actually, here's something you might not know, you can actually go down and participate in putting that float together if you want to go down the week before the parade between Christmas and New Year's, because it's always on New Year's Day. You can go down and help
Wow.
together. You get a nice little shirt and stuff. Anyway.
How long has the parade been going on? Is that a 100-year deal or has that been?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's been a 100-year deal, but Lions haven't been involved for 100 years. I'm not sure how long.
Okay, yeah. No, I know they're.
As long as I've been a Lion. I know that the Orange Bowl thing was only in the last 10 years. So that's new. So, yeah. So, of course, you know, you have the Lions website and you can go to lionsclubs.org and find all the stuff that's there. And I know that it's changing slightly. And I had a chance to play a little bit with the new stuff they're putting on there. And it looks pretty, well, looks to me to be easier to use than the old one, but it's going to be something you're going to have to learn that's a little bit new. So John and I were talking a little bit earlier about we have to plan some training in the fall to show people how to use the website when it comes up. It was supposed to come up in March, then it was supposed to come up in June, then it was supposed to come up in July, and now they're hoping to have it by September. So,
But you know, Tom, what they don't charge you with, Frank, is
No.
the peace poster kits. They're free. They send them, pay for the kits, but I was just working it out. The shipping is free, and the
Mhm.
other thing that's free is the packages for new members, right?
yeah. And you know, the cost of the kits itself really covers the shipping of those things. So
Oh, don't say that. That depresses me. I thought they were being nice.
no, you know it's in the kit. So it doesn't cost $16 to put that kit together.
No, 11.95
Yeah.
plus
And now,
Canadian, right?
yeah. And now that Sylvia's been to the UN, she'll tell you that that's a life-changing experience if you go to Lions Day at the UN. And
Life change.
you can even pick which UN day you want to go to, because there's one in Korea, there's one in Japan, there's one in Switzerland, and there's one in New York. So you can pick which one you want to go to. Anyway, we send our winners there, don't we, Sylvia?
Yes, we do.
Uh, that's nice to see. It really is a great experience.
It was.
Anything else? Anything else you think Lions need to know about the international level?
Yeah, I'd like to just add something.
Okay.
I think that when we're talking about Lions International, you were mentioning new training and stuff. We should probably be prepping the clubs as we know this stuff is coming available, that, hey, they're going to be coming out with some new stuff. You might want to keep your eye out for it.
Yeah. And you know, Paul, that's pretty much perpetual.
Yeah.
There's always new stuff. And I mean, I go on the website now looking for one thing and I bump into something else and say, oh my God, I didn't even know that was there. And then I have to go find out what it's all about. Just because I don't know if that makes me nosy or does that make me a lifelong learner? I could be positive or negative about that. I guess it's one or the other. Anyway, anything else at the international level you think a Lion needs to know? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, so what we say about mentors is sort of mentor skills here is that we'd love our mentors to be people persons, and that they aren't always. But you know, you need these qualities. You know, can you be empathetic? Can you listen actively to somebody? I mean, that's really essential for a mentor to do that active listening, and then to, you know, respond to that in a way that's healthy and is positive. Identifying goals and looking at the reality of situations. And I got to tell you, I miss on this sometimes. You know, I identify goals all the time for people, but sometimes I miss on the current reality because my impression of the current reality is different than other people's. And it gives you a chance to, you know, discuss that with people. And if you do the active listening thing, then you can get the real reality that's there. But you have to stop and do that instead of jumping to what you already know. Hopefully you don't have to do a lot of corrective feedback, but the motivating feedback is the big one. You know, I think most Lions, when they come into this, they want to do the best work they can do for their community. We don't see a whole lot of Lions, or at least I haven't met a whole lot of Lions who come in this just to get a position. Doesn't really make sense because it's a whole lot more work. Okay. And then, you know, we'd like our mentors to have facilitation skills. That doesn't mean we all have those. But if you have some form of presentation skills and you're really willing to listen and to use your empathy, then you'll probably be okay, because that's basically what facilitation is anyway, is getting those people what they want to do and making sure that they get their goals met. Because when you're the mentor, it's not about you, it's about the mentee. And it's hard to give that up sometimes. On the other hand, of course, our mentees need some skills too. We want them to be eager to learn, and we want them to have the same empathy, warmth, and respect that the mentors have. Because in order to exchange information, you have to be able to do that, and they have to be able to listen actively as well. So hopefully you can do some goal setting. Not everybody's up to that if they haven't had to do that in their lives. They just sort of coasted along until they got to this point. But goal setting is critical, you know, for our success, that's for sure. And then receiving feedback is a skill too, because sometimes we want to jump in and talk over the person giving the feedback. And we need our mentees to receive the feedback first before they respond, so they get the whole picture. And then they need some facilitation skills as well on the other side. So when you're a mentor or a mentee, if you look at the set of skills, pretty much the same on both sides, pretty much. Okay. And this chart's supposed to show that, except I got my little stuff in the way here. You can see, you know, basically the relationship is the same thing. All right, moving on. Okay, so here's the basis of mentoring. And this is what Lions International says. This is what mentoring is. And so it's based on the trust that is established between the mentor and the mentee. And so I know we assign mentors to mentees, and that may not be your best mentor. So you need to be honest about that and, talk to your mentee and talk to your mentor, talk to each other and decide if this is the best matchup. If it's not, then go find a new mentor and find a new mentee. Basically, we want to get the best thing that's going there. And sometimes people just cannot communicate. They're from two different worlds somehow, and they don't get there. You need that regular contact. And I don't know what regular means to you. It can mean different things. For some people, it would mean weekly. And I know some people have had mentors that meet them weekly and have continued to do that for years. And I know people who have mentors who meet them yearly, and they've continued to do that for years too. So the regular contact is a reference point you'll have to make for you and your mentee. So you do that together as a pair. And you have to think that this process is going to work. If you don't think the process is going to work, you're not going to put the time in to make it work, right? So you need to do that one. The other one is, we want that desire to look at Lions International and make sure that what we're doing is going to help to build Lions International. Now, there's a couple of people within our association who I find do this in everything they do. It drives me crazy sometimes because they forget to have fun sometimes, but they really work at building Lions International, and they sometimes forget about fun. So I would say this is really good, but remember to have fun too. And I found with everybody that I've mentored, I mentor people all over the world now, which is crazy. But when you do that, you end up learning a lot, that you didn't know before, because you get a different perspective on things. And it's just great on both sides. So the mentor learns and the mentee learns, and you learn together. And that's, that would be the best situation to happen. Okay, so what else do we have to know about? Well, the mentors and mentees can work out a whole bunch of stuff from our site. Okay, and here's our member portal now, as it looks like now. It's going to change slightly. The last picture I saw had 4 buttons, and it didn't have shop. So I think that button will probably show up again. It didn't have this, and it was broken up differently. So instead of having my Lion, my LCI, insights, and learn, it had my club, my district, my leadership, and then an interactive site. So we'll see what it looks like when they're finished with this thing. But basically, the subtitles from all those things, the things that we looked at before on My Lion, are still there. And you're going to find them when you look at My Club. You'll find the same stuff that was there on the My LCI. You'll find that under My Club. You'll find your club stuff. If you want to go to your district, you'll find that under the district leadership stuff. So, the buttons are going to look a little bit different, but you're going to have the same points underneath them. And you got to play with it a little bit. It was a whole lot easier to use. And if you wanted to report, now some of us do,
7, I thought it was.
some of us do something called a data download, where we go into a club or go into a district, and you can download the data from the club that you need to know. But it doesn't give you everything you might want. So with our new system, you can set your own parameters for it. So if you know how to use a spreadsheet, then you set your own titles across the top, and then just click on those and it'll fill it in for you, which is pretty amazing, actually. So anyway, so once you get into your member portal, it might look like this. This is my member portal for my club. Yours would look the same, except you wouldn't have my name up at the top. It would have yours. If you have 2 titles, so if you're a zone chair, and you see this little thing up here has my name up in the corner, and there's a little arrow here. If you have 2 titles, so you have one at your club level and your zone chair, and if you click on that, you'll see that you have 2 levels of access to your information. So I have 4 levels. I leave it on past international director because it gives me the most access, but you'll have access at whatever level your job is this year or your position is. Okay, when you go to learn, here's what's on learn. Right now, you'll see there's a whole bunch of things here in the Lions Learning Center you can look at. We'll see that in a second. And if there's any institutes coming out that you are eligible to get to, it'll be there. So there's a LCIP or Lions Certified Instructor Program going on in Atlanta, Georgia in October. And anybody who wants to be a Lions instructor can take that program. I would tell you that the applications for that are about 10 to 1 that are accepted. Everybody wants to be a Lions instructor. So they take people who usually have Lions, or they have training in their job description, in their regular job too. They want people who have lots of training background to go into that. And then people who have done a lot of training for Lions. If you have both of those things, then you're more likely to get in than not. There's another workshop called FDI, and they haven't solidified the date for that yet. They actually, I shouldn't say that. They have the date, but they don't have all the details, so they haven't put it up yet. But it will appear in here. So the Faculty Development Institute will be in here as soon as they've got all the details figured out. And then they have another workshop called the Advanced Lions Learning Institute. And that's for people who have been club president but are looking to move into the district. And this will be the last year for that workshop, because that's now going to become second vice district governor training. And then what's happening locally. So we have club officer training. I put down Mount Albert here, but I haven't heard back from Vaughn yet to know that if I have that date or not. But we're going to do it on June 17th. And wherever it is, it'll be June 17th. So it's in here. So you'll know what's happening locally if your GLT person puts it in there. Okay. And if you want the details, you click on go. If you want the details, you click on go. If you want the details, you click on go. So if I clicked on go for the Lions Learning Center, I would find all these kinds of things. So here's 4 little things that are there. There's a thing for club officer training. I got club president's responsibility here, but there's one for secretaries. There's one for treasurers. There's one for membership chairs. It goes on and on and on. And beyond that, there's a little thing on coaching here. And there's a little course down here on conflict resolution. And I would warn you about conflict resolution. A 45-minute, 1-hour course is not going to make you an expert at doing conflict resolution, but it'll give you some background to get started with. You really need, if you're going to have a very heavy conflict, you really need somebody who knows what they're doing to take you through that one. But there's 27 courses here in 14 different languages, so you can do them in your language of your preference. I've tried a couple in different languages, didn't work very well. I thought because I'd done it in English, I could do it in the other, but no, it doesn't work that way. Okay. If you look at our training, here's our past training that we've done. So you can see it's listed down here for this year. And once it's completed, the GLT person puts a completed thing in here, and you can get a list of who the instructors were and who was instructed. And that's what International uses for the data that it puts into insights to say how many people have been trained and how many of your zone chairs have been trained. It doesn't translate to club officers, though, I've found, unless you put in president's training, secretary's training. And that's the only way it goes to club officers on insights. But you learn as you go. We'll fix that for this summer. Okay. And then there are some materials. If you wanted to pick up materials from Lions International, and I have some of this. If you would like it, let me know. I'll send it to you. There's 2 levels of the Lions mentoring program, and it's something you can work out on paper with you and your mentee. And so there's 2 levels of this. And if you wanted to look at that, I can send that to you. I think it works better if we do it naturally than if you do it sort of on lockstep like this. But that's the way I do things, might not be the way you do things. So if you would like that stuff, let me know. I'll send it to you. Okay, so here were our objectives for this spot. First off was definition, responsibilities, what should a lion know, skills, and how does collaboration work, and practice of the roles of mentor and mentee. So we're going to practice those roles now. So my last question before I send you to breakout rooms is, how do you think collaboration works? So that's a question to the whole group. If we're going to collaborate, how does that work?
We obviously have to work together.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah,
it's,
it's at the same table and for all parties.
it's a two-way street. The mentor and the mentee are both responsible. Anything else?
Be a good listener.
Be a good listener. And you notice that was in both skill sets, right?
Be open to sharing and changing.
Yeah. And, you know, I have a little graphic I've used from time to time that has a picture of the group and somebody's addressing the group and who wants to see change? And everybody puts their hand up, and then who wants to change themselves to see that change? And half the people put their hand up. And then the third one is, how many people in here want to be a leader for change? And nobody puts their hands up. So it change is a wonderful thing to think about, but it's difficult to do. It's difficult to do, especially if you've been very successful doing things the way you do them now. You know, it's hard to change. It is. But that, you know, that open discussion we talked about a minute ago and that active listening, that'll help you do that. Anything else that helps collaboration work?
There are no stupid questions.
That's true. That's true. There are no stupid questions. If you have a question, ask, you know, and we had a saying for a long time we used is just ask. We used it for membership, but, you know, just ask. If you need to know something, geez, just ask. And you can ask anybody. You know, you can ask people in your club. You can ask people out of the directory. You can ask anybody to do that if you need to know that stuff. If you need to know stuff, you just ask. Okay, so that's my thanks. Thanks for coming. Okay, so initially I set up some breakout rooms, but I still don't see that we have. Maybe not enough to do that. Okay, so we'll just do it this way. So we'll start up in the left-hand square on my screen. Okay, Betty, so as a mentor, do you have any questions or any things that you would like to point out to the rest of us?
Whoa. Yeah, this is my first time being a mentor. So I've been listening carefully, looking forward to getting in touch with my mentee so I can find out what they want, first of all, and try and meet some of those needs. I'm training or not training. I am a mentee, sorry, for the next person who's taking over as a zone chair. And she's never been a zone chair before. So it's a little bit different than if you have somebody who's already had that role, right?
Right. Right. It really is. It really is. Because now they got all kinds of questions, right? It's all brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Cool.
So yeah, I'm sorry that my mentee is not here today, but I will get in touch with her. And the question, I guess, is, do you think we should do this before the end of June? Have a first meeting?
Do I think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would think so. And I was hoping that that's what that would be tonight, but I guess it's not going to work that way. But
Well, we can move
it's not-
forward and try and set something up before the end of June.
Sure, you and your mentee can do that. That's true.
Mhm.
I think we're lucky that Betty and I are mentoring the zone chairs for Region 52.
Mhm.
So we can get them together and do it together.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you might even want to include the region chair there. You never know.
Maybe I'll see.
Just since I see him on the screen, that's why I said.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a great benefit to, putting the people from your zone or your region together and saying, okay, let's do this thing together. You might even want to do, I hate to say it, it's going to come up again and again and again in the near future, but yeah, you might even want to do one of those SWOT analysis for your region. You never know. We may want to do one for the district. Who knows? Okay, I'm going to move over to Carolyn because she's next to the left on my screen, and Carolyn's both a mentor and a mentee. So anything you want to add to the description?
I think one of the things I shared, I'm not sure if it was at convention or if it was at a zone meeting, but one of the things I share is to establish a relationship with your mentee or mentor. It's not a hard and fast schooling type thing, it's a relationship. And so from that relationship, you build that trust that Tom spoke about. And then from that, you can fine tune it into how often do you want to meet? Do you want to meet? Or do you want to just call? Do you want to Zoom? And those sort of things you iron out.
Right.
My mentee is is here today, and one of the good things about that is that we have had a relationship prior to him becoming region chair, and so it's easy for us to communicate. He feels comfortable picking up the phone and calling me at any time and just asking me a question, and so I hope that will continue. That trust will continue, so that he will feel comfortable continuing to do that. And I hope I will be able to be the mentor he's looking for and hoping for.
All right. And that would be ideal. That would be ideal. Just you can pick up the phone and talk to your mentor or your mentee at any time. Just if something comes up as you're the
Yeah.
mentor, something comes up because it's new and you say, ooh, my mentee should know about this, and give it to them. And the mentor is there to receive those calls when the mentee says, I don't know how to do this, or this is something I have a big question about, and we can just make a phone call and do that. Or if you want to do Zoom, we can use our district Zoom license. There's a way to get in. If you talk to Tim, and he'll let you in, he'll show you how to use it. And, it works pretty good if you like to see the person you're talking to and you don't live too close. If you live close, it's a lot easier just to go out for coffee, I think. But some of my mentors are in all over the world. So I do a lot of Zoom meetings. Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. Okay, I'm going to move over to Paul's on next on my screen over here. So Paul Rock's over here, and he's the mentee at this point. So from the mentee side, Paul, do you have any questions or something you'd like to point out?
Yeah, as a person new coming into this, last year you guys asked me to come in Carolyn did, asked me to come in as the ag election chair. And even though I knew everything about that particular job, I was terrified of messing it up.
I
Here I
understand.
am coming into the zone chair, and I'll be honest with you, I am terrified of not doing a good enough job. I mean, on paper, it looks easy enough, but yeah, that's the only thing I'm really worried about.
Yeah, and I think that's a normal thing. I think that's why we have trouble sometimes getting people to take on the job, because they're terrified of messing up. Now, what do you think would happen if you did mess up?
Well, my hope is if I mess up, my mentee, my district governor, someone's going to point out politely, hey, you got to do it this way because this is what we need. What you did wasn't necessarily wrong, but there's a better way.
So are you going to lose a limb or, die because of that?
No,
Yes, a little bit.
I'm not going to shoot you, Paul. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Well, that fear's gone. David just confirmed I'm going to live, so it's all right.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So, it's not life threatening, it's one of those things. And I think you have to realize, you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah, if you don't never make mistakes, you never do anything.
Yeah. Paul and
You
I
have
are
to learn from it.
Paul and I are on the same thing online on this one, because he's pointed out my mistakes many, many times in the past. And
If I had $1 for every mistake I made, I wouldn't be here tonight.
yeah, you'd be rich, right? Yeah. And I think you got to know that you're going to make those mistakes, and you just say, oh, okay, well, I'll go on now and I'll just fix that up and we'll move on to the next thing. That's all, because it's going to be a next thing. There always is.
Do the best you can.
Yeah, you do the best you can. And, I think most of us are pretty confident, Paul, you're going to do a good job. So I wouldn't sweat that too much on that side. And you have all these people, you have your assigned mentor, but you have everybody else. Just ask, right?
And I could share what my lifelong mentor has taught me is just be honest.
Yes. And sometimes, you want to tell those little white lies to help people's feelings, but, being honest is really the best thing at the end. It's a lot easier in the end. It really is. Really is. Thanks, David. It's funny, sometimes I get assigned a mentee and I find out that I got mentored as we worked along, because I had a whole different view of things. I've been a lion for such a long time. I have some old thinking in there. I got to get messed up, need some new thinking from time to time. Okay, new square. Hugh, you're going to be a mentor this year. So what do you want to add?
Fortunately, I know my mentee, and funny thing is, when in the seeking out a new zone chair, I talked to a lot of people, and I committed to the new zone chair that I would be his mentor, and I would be, and ended up it come around. I'm now his official mentor, but it was so that was I offered that right up front, and be more than happy to help out. And I think Michael's going to be a great zone chair.
He's had some potential for a while. We've been trying to get him to, to move in. So that's good.
Yeah,
Same with
well,
Paul.
3 or 4 years I can recall so all the approaches. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. He's finally jumped in. That's great. Okay, moving on. Next screen is for me is John Ralph. So John Ralph is now coming in as our first vice district governor, and he's still a mentee. You'd think at some point he'd be.
I am.
Well, is there anything you'd like
That's
to add?
okay. You know, I will say one thing. I sit in on a group with other second vice district governors, and we have fairly regular meetings.
Yep.
And mentor and mentees is something that comes up. And I have to tell you, I think we personally in A-16 have the best system of all the others for this process. I'm a very, very fortunate individual that I started off with David as my original mentor. And then Tim Chung is my current mentor, who I actually spoke with today. So I knew I was going to be here, and we're going to talk again on Saturday. I've been able to run things by Carolyn and run things by Suda, and I throw things out, and you know, it's really great to see the knowledge that you think you, well, not that I know everything, but you think you know something, and then you realize, oh my goodness, okay. So I think the listening part is very, very essential to the core of being a mentee and being a mentor. And we have a tremendous system here in A-16. And I just hope it keeps up. Yes, am I looking forward to being a mentor? I am. And I think when the people that appoint the mentors feel that I'm worthy of it, then I'll be willing to step up. We have a tremendous system here in A-16, and we just need to keep on going.
Yeah. And I think, you know, sometimes you put two lines together. Somebody asked me this once. They said, do you have to have formal mentors? I say, put two lines together and leave them alone for 5 minutes. And they're mentoring each other. They're asking them what they're doing, and they do it anyway. It's just sort of a natural thing to do. But when you have a relationship built, you know, that mentoring goes a little bit deeper and becomes a little bit more personalized that way. So yeah, and that'll happen. You know, it happens just because you have a position. People will ask your advice, you know, and now you're a mentor.
You know, it's interesting because mentoring comes in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. And when you think of the position I have as the district administrator, it comes to my mind. I mentor people just about every day that call me about having problems with the system. So there's all kinds of different mentoring with it.
Yeah, exactly.
System, and it really works. It really does.
Yeah, I think so. So Martin's just coming in here. He's going to be our second vice district governor. And his mentor is, oh, he's finally off his plane. I don't know if he's home yet, but he's off his plane. So he's not here today. So as a mentee, Martin, and I know in your professional life, you've been a mentor anyway, but as a mentee, you know, what, do you have anything you want to add to what we've been talking about?
Yeah, I really believe that the trust piece is important, because you have to be able to ask questions. And one of the problems is, as we've already heard, you know, I'm scared of doing a bad thing. I'm scared of making a mistake. But you trust your mentor to the point where you can ask those questions, then you're far better off, right? And what I found in the past in both roles is you start slow and you ask little questions. And as the relationship builds, you get into bigger questions. The trust builds, right?
True, exactly. And that's what happens. You know, the questions are really simple to start off with. They get more complicated as you go along.
And you become more vulnerable, right? So you're going to ask more questions that make you look like, so I say, an idiot or stupid, but you don't know what you don't know. So sometimes it's, you know, you have to step out there and say, okay, I think I trust this person, so I'm going to ask this now.
Yeah, well, that's what I heard earlier, but there are no stupid questions.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And the other
alright.
thing people are worried about is, I don't know too many people have been fired from a volunteer job before, right? So
Yes, there's not too many.
that's
Uh,
it.
Yeah, true enough. True enough. Thanks, Martin.
Mm.
Okay, I'm moving to another square on my box over here. So Stanley, you're up next. So as a mentee in a new position, oh my goodness. Yeah, have something you want to add to the conversation?
Well, actually, I think I do feel lucky that there is a mentor there. I'm not quite sure what like the new positions, like what challenge I may have, but I'm thankful that there will be someone that I can ask though. Yeah.
Yeah. It gives you confidence to know that you have somebody behind you there. You can ask for advice if you get stuck, right? Yeah. You have a good mentor, so you'll be fine. It's nice to know. Okay, next box I have over here is Jim. Jim, what would you like to add to the mentor-mentee situation here?
Well, a lot of it has been covered. A lot of it is trust. And my mentor, she inducted me into Lions way back when, and we've had a good relationship ever since. And I like that she tells it as it is. She doesn't sugarcoat things if there's something going on in the district or with me. So that is good. And in my new professional career,
Yeah,
I found that I'm both the mentor and the mentee because they hired someone new who knows nothing about propane to advocate the government. And, it's kind of neat how things come full circle. Things I've learned in Lions. I was in Calgary 3 weeks ago, and I should have taken a picture of the boardroom wall, Tom. You'd be so impressed. There were sticky notes everywhere in a parking lot, and
Hey,
long-term, short-term, midterm. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a Lions meeting in Calgary when I get to pay for it. So, it is neat to see. And it wasn't a SWOT analysis. We had slightly different words
Yes.
because there was no real threats, but it was basically a SWOT analysis. So it is neat. And on that train of thought, I was in Nova Scotia last week, and impromptu, I had to get called up in front of about 60 people. And 5 years ago, I would have just crawled underneath the chair and, rocked myself while I cried. But I stood up, gave a 5-minute speech on the fly, and I apparently impressed people. So that was good. So
One of the things I've heard most about people from Lions is that they were not a good public speaker or were scared to death of being a
yeah,
public speaker. And,
Yeah.
after being in Lions for a little while, they sort of disappeared. I know I can do it. Here's what I want to say. Because they say, I guess the research said that was people's biggest fear was public speaking, and death was number 3. 2 was dying while you're speaking. So
death was number 3. That's pretty bad.
yeah, death was number 3, but public speaking was first. Amazing, eh?
Wow.
Yeah. So those kinds of skills come with practice too. You've had some practice now, so you know what the worst thing that can happen to you is, because you've
Exactly.
Yeah. So now you get that as we go. Cool.
It's
Anything else?
easier when you know what the subject matter you're talking about. You're going from experience. It's easy to carry that out.
Yeah, a lot
Exactly.
of it. A lot of us, we work on our experience, right? So we saw somebody who was a zone chair before, and so we know what they did. We say, well, I can do that, and so I'll do that. But if you're working with your mentor, maybe you want to improve on that a little bit. And maybe your mentor is the person who you have in your brain who did what you wanted to do, So yeah, so that mentorship really does help the situation improve for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now it's interesting to see that you went to a meeting and it turned into a Lions meeting, a Lions training.
Oh,
And-
it basically was. You might as well have facilitated it. So
Well, I did do that for a while. So that's how come we do it this way now.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, well, here we go. Okay, my next box over is Suda, Miss Suda, our incoming governor, district governor elect. Boy, you got less than a month.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Thank you, Anton. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me that. Well, I think
your good mentor helps to build your confidence, which is really, really important. And yes, you do make mistakes, and mistakes are your lessons to learn, and be honest to admit them. If you have done a mistake, be honest to admit to your mentor so that he can guide you and help you how to move forward. And you don't know something, don't be shy to ask. You don't know something, don't be shy to ask. Be honest, ask, this is what I don't know, can you please help me? Don't be shy, or don't think, what will your mentors think, or you don't even know this. No, don't think, just ask. So, and your mentor actually becomes your best friend. Because
Yeah, after a while. Yeah, after a while, that's what happens. Yeah. Terrific. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to my next box. I have Sylvia in my next box over here, and Sylvia is not on my list as a mentor or mentee, so it wasn't assigned. So I don't know which side you're coming in.
You don't know why I'm here. Either do I. I had an invitation and I thought I would just follow up on it. So
Well, what do you
I'm
think
glad
about
I came, and I've learned a lot.
what did you learn about mentor mentees that you didn't know before?
What did I learn? I think probably patience, listening. And I think listening carefully to what people have to say and what their thoughts are. I think so often we, as you said before, we jump to conclusions sometimes as to what people really are looking for and want. And we aren't necessarily on the same page. And so my, I guess the number of calls I get over the year from people with regards to effective speaking and peace poster and so on, often it's just wanting the assurance that they can do it well. And I found personally that emails do not do the trick. Personal phone call and just a chat for a few minutes seems to ease their mind and gives them confidence that they can go on. So.
Sure. So do you have a piece of good news you can give to Carolyn about what your club did last night?
My club did last night? What do you mean last night?
Didn't you induct 2 new members last night?
We did. We inducted 2 new members. Yes, we did. And
so in June.
In
I said
June.
in June.
Yeah. So we're very happy, and we have a couple more in the wings. So yeah, so that's good.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, moving on to the next box over is past District Governor Paul Brand, one of my mentors. So Paul, what would you like to add to the situation?
I think just be truthful. If you don't know something, don't try and bullshit your way through. Ask.
And there you go. You can't get too much more blunt than that, right? That's awesome. And that's true, and sometimes it saves you a lot of time. You're trying to be nice and you're trying to work around what's going on in the situation. It's better just to be straight.
Yeah.
Let people know. Yeah, true. Cool. Okay, thanks, Paul. Moving down to my next box down here, I have David Mills, past District Governor David, and David has both been a mentor and a mentee for me, which is kind of cool. Okay, David, what do you want to add?
I think often perception is everything. I think in whatever you do, you need to be prepared. So speaking to Paul, if you're going to go to do a club visit or you're running a zone meeting and you're not prepared, it will be evident.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's evident, you will lose people automatically because they'll say, well, what's going on here? So I think preparation is really important. And we've seen situations, and I think it's been enhanced negatively because of COVID, that we haven't had the chance to get out there and be with people. And Zoom can cover a lot of sins. So when you get there in person, it's quite a different thing. So I think preparation is really, really important. You have to step up to the plate and present yourself properly as a leader. And I think that's critical. So.
True. So if we're going to be a mentor for somebody who's a new zone chair, then we should really learn or have a good working knowledge of what the zone chair's position entails.
Yeah, and it's down to often to the nitty gritty, how you set up your head table and things of that nature, and what do you do before. So I developed a checklist that helped me, when I was the zone chair, and even when I was governor. What did I have to do before I went to the meeting? What I had to do when I was at the meeting, and what did I have to do after the meeting? And so it was important for me to remind myself that, and I needed those things, and I think they're very helpful. So
I agree. There's a great course in the Lions University about meeting management, and talks just exactly that, what you do before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. I was absolutely a great facilitator for that course.
Yeah.
Okay, my next box over is Ken. So Ken's dad was my mentor. That shows you how old I am. Hey, Ken, you're going to be.
I don't think I've got too much more to add than what everybody else has been saying. I think we all want to do a good job, and we're nervous about doing that good job and not wanting to make a mistake. I would warn my mentor that she might have a stupid question for the list at the end of it, but you never can tell.
No stupid questions. No stupid questions. And sometimes you get a stupid answer, but there's no stupid question. Anyway, we move on with that thing. The last person on my box down here is Christina, and I guess I've been a mentor to Christina, but I've also continually to be mentored by Christina about difficulties of walking through life with not being able to see. And Christina has some good news about her club. We're just putting in the data now, so it'll be done shortly. So, Christina,
Yes,
add to the conversation.
I think really everything has been said. I think for me this has been an incredible just being able to join and listen to you guys, and I always find that this course or training is always very informative because it makes me think back, what have I missed or something I need to learn and touch up on. And working on multiple district 8 in the last few years, I've had a lot to learn. I still have lots to learn, but having so many of our district leaders have been mentoring me and helping me through being on district and for accessibility and multiple district has been really great. But I have learned, even being a MDA chairperson, that even some of the district governors who have been on my committee, they have become my mentors too, and they have helped me, and I've learned a lot from them as well. So just being able to be in that situation and learn from different district governors has been really incredible. But I have to say, the one thing I learned from the very beginning, because I myself, I absolutely hate speaking in large groups. I get a lot of anxiety. And some of you may think that's kind of crazy because I do talk, but I do have a lot of anxiety. And JC told me once before I go to a cabinet meeting or anything like that, even though I can't see, to stand in front of a mirror and just practice. And Tom knows this, that every time before a cabinet meeting, wherever I have to speak, I practice and practice. Could be depending on how long before the speech or whatever. I've been practicing for weeks or hours for 3 or 4 days. And I make my dad FaceTime me and practice, and my fiance, but I practice, and I find that is the best thing for me to help me get over that part of the anxiety of speaking in large groups. So, but yes, I've been really privileged to have so many of you help me through the way. So I appreciate that. And I love taking these training courses because I learned so much, and other districts don't have this, which I've also learned. And I was quite surprised that many of the other districts don't renew their guiding lion or their any like a mentor and mentoring training and everything. So I always find that when I learn something new, that we are really lucky in District A-16. So
Yeah, I have to admit, even, before I got here, people were doing training and mentoring, and, teaching the rest of us, what protocol was, and, how the district is different than the multiple district, and how a zone chairperson's job is to do these kinds of things, and the region chairperson's job is to do these kinds of things. And that was all happening before I got here. And then, I've been able to help that along a little bit now. And all the people on the screen that I see have been able to help in some way, mentor some other people and train. And so we started off with that as part of our environment, and it's just continued on. And I think we're very lucky that way. And those of us who get to work at multiple district, and Sudha, you'll be picking this up shortly too, have noticed that other districts do not have that as part of their makeup. They just do not. And it's very segmented for them. And we're very lucky to have that group of people that can work with each other. So thank you for the input. Now we're sort of at the end here. So does anybody else want to add anything to what we're doing here? Sudha?
Yeah, one thing I want to add here is when you take a position or you are in a role, you are being watched. You are being watched by many people and many members, many clubs, your past district governors, everybody is watching you. And your mentor is the best advisor. Yeah.
Yes, they are. One of the things somebody told me earlier on is that you are a model. You don't have a choice because you're there and doing the job you're doing. You're a model, so you can pick to be a good model or a bad model. It's your choice. Which kind of model you want to be. You can't say I'm having a bad day now, so don't watch what I'm doing. Watch what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
Got to be on. So your best behavior or the best you can be at that time. So we're not all perfect every day. Cool. Anything else, David?
Yeah, well, I think it's also important to remember that the people you're visiting or working with are your friends.
Yeah.
They're not the enemy, so you don't have to get all anxious that they're out to get you. You're there to support them and help them, and they're your friends. So you need to go in with that positive attitude.
Yeah.
And don't think you're going in like you're the school superintendent. So.
Well, David, some school superintendents obviously work differently than others. And that's a fact. And we can talk about that a lot.
well, boo on them, Paul.
Yeah. And that's
I went to an interview one time to be a superintendent, and we were in a negotiating situation, and I wore a button to the interview that we had. And afterwards, the superintendent said, you had a very good interview, but it was a mistake wearing that button. And I said to him, I thought long and hard about that. And I said to myself, if that's what makes the difference, I don't want to work with you bastards anyway.
Whoa.
Like I said, don't bullshit.
No.
Tell it as it is.
It's funny. I had an interview once with somebody who said, why don't you want to be the principal? And I said, because I want to work. I want to teach.
Yeah.
If I wanted to sit in an office and do nothing all day, I would be the principal. Sorry, David.
Well, I disagree with you there, Tom. The principal doesn't sit in the office and do nothing. So
that's the perspective of somebody working with 30 kids at a time. That's all.
Yeah.
So I turned down the job because for the sort of the same reason.
Yeah. I never cease to be amazed by, Lions. They're in it to help the community, help those less fortunate and so on. But you know, we get so much from that ourselves. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I hate to talk about people when they're not here, but Jane Taylor, she was a beginning teacher for me. And then just before I retired, she taught with me again. And I see what marvelous things Lions has done for Jane. I can't but be amazed.
Yeah.
And she's not the only one I've seen that happen to either.
Yeah, that growth that we see in people, that's sort of our reward. You know, there's nothing altruistic about us. So we're always in it for something. And I love to see that growth, whatever that growth may be, you know, because I don't know what direction that's going to go in.
Yeah.
I just hope I can help along. And that's part of, you know, mentor mentee too, is that, you know, you look after each other. And if there's something you can do to help, or there's some health problems there, that you let people know about that. So anything else we'd like to add tonight?
I would like to add some bragging rights, or
Good.
I'm going to claim them that way. My daughter is the president-elect of the Kitchener Lions Club.
Ah, awesome. Awesome.
So, yeah,
You
Oh,
can do
no.
some mentoring there, Hugh.
Oh my God. The Kitchener Lions Club?
Which one?
she's very aware of where she's going, okay? And she's still going to take the challenge on. So anyway, she's game.
You got to put up with OJ. Oh my God.
He's not the
And
worst.
which club?
Oh, I know. Oh, there's Jack Bishop too. So I understand. I understand.
Is that just Kitchener Lions Club, or is it Kitchener Pioneers Lions Club? I know a few people in Kitchener.
Yeah, it's Kitchener Lions Club. It's the original club, and they visited. Her and Rob visited all the clubs in 20-mile radius of Kitchener, and so that was their choice. And Rob's,
Nice.
he was at Thornhill. He was with Richville, went to Thornhill, and anyway, they're both Lions, and anyway, so it's all come good together. So.
Yeah, cool. Oh, it's nice to hear. So I know your daughter, so I'll when I'm visiting out there, I'll say hi. Okay, anything else we need, Dad? Okay, and if you'd like mentoring material from LCI, let me know. I will send that to you. Okay. Okay, thank you guys for making this fun too. So thank you very much. And if you want to leave, leave. If you want to stay and be sociable, stay and be sociable. Up to you.